Hi, everyone. My name is Kirk Bachman, and welcome back to The Ultimate Dish. In today's episode, we're speaking with Chef Josie Clemens, the first vegan chef on Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen Young Guns edition, and the new culinary director at Jackfruit Land. Although Chef Josie hails from Michigan, her culinary adventures have taken her around the globe, where she has introduced vegan menus at fine dining restaurants like Folia in Saudi Arabia. Josie specializes in culinary innovation, sustainability, and making nutritionally dense food tasty and more acceptable to the masses. And there she is. Welcome, Chef. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Kirk. Hi, I am so good. How are you? Hello,
I
everyone.
say hello to everyone in TV land and in podcast land. Yay! Perfect. You've done this before. I am so freaking excited to chat with you today. I'm a little nervous. So go easy on me, okay? So
I'll be very kind.
so I know I know that you reside in Cancun, but you're with Mama right now, right? In
I am.
beautiful Michigan, right?
It is. It's actually gorgeous here, which is not what I remember Michigan to be. So it's nice to be able to enjoy the weather. I'm here picking up my dog. My mom was so gracious to watch her while we were actually filming Peeled, the world's first ever televised vegan culinary competition.
Yeah, yeah. But Michigan's nice in the summer though, right? Kid Rock always says so.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot about boat weather.
Yeah, it's boat weather. I grew up in Chicago by way of Germany, so it's the good old Midwest, right?
The best come from the Midwest, baby.
What what was that like growing up? Where did we're going to talk about so much food today, but so
So,
growing up in the Midwest, where did the food thing come in? Was that in that kitchen behind you or somebody else, grandma, somebody?
I'm going to tell you a secret.
Uh-oh.
Uh, Nobody really cooked. And so I was really fascinated when I would watch cooking shows like Chopped. Chopped was actually my inspiration because
Isn't
I
that
saw,
something?
yeah, I saw the pantry and I saw what people were coming up with. I was like, oh, if you can just throw anything together with these crazy ingredients, I mean, I think I can do that too.
So take me back. Did you all of a sudden say, "Hey, I'm cooking dinner tonight," and you just dove into it? Was this grade school, high school?
This was grade school. My mom actually in middle school, I remember she took me to the grocery store and I was just throwing a fit because I used to hate the grocery store. I was like, can we just get something different? She's like, well, what do you have in mind? I was like, I don't know, let's get portobello mushrooms and beef and cheese. And I did like this stuffed mushroom for dinner.
And
And
everyone loved it.
everyone loved it.
See, there you go. So it's all you. We're not going to give credit to anyone else but you for this cooking passion of yours.
I guess I don't know where it came from. I wrote in second grade in my yearbook that I wanted to be a chef. I don't know. I don't
Oh, no
know.
way, really? So it's in the
Serious.
DNA. I love that. So then how does that all kind of become a career?
Well, that's an excellent question. I think that it just looks a lot like boldly going after what you want when you're sweating and you're scared. I'd say that when you feel fear in asking for opportunities, that's when you know that you're doing the right thing. And that's just kind of how it started. I asked a chef at like this luxury banquet hall here in my hometown. I asked him for a job and he told me no. And so then I went to the owners and I asked them for a job and they said yes. That's how I started when I was 16.
So you had upward managerial agility even at 16. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, it's called manipulation tactics.
Yeah. So let's jump into the. I think you know that I'm going to call it 90% plant based. So that's part of my fascination here. I mean, you we'll talk about Hell's Kitchen and being the first vegan. I mean, did Gordon Ramsay give you a hard time? You know, where's the protein? Where's the protein?
We can
But
talk
where
about all of it.
I love it. I love it. Where did that come from? Where did and you're still a practicing vegan, plant-based cook. Um, I just love the story, but where did it start?
You're talking about like when they first went vegan.
Yeah.
Well, I got fired from my job as a sous chef. at Fiona's Delicatessen in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Okay. Right up the road.
Right up the road. And
Why'd you get fired?
it was mostly my attitude. It was
Oh,
mostly my attitude
okay.
because I came from a really intense kitchen here in Michigan to Colorado, where it's a little bit more lax, it's a little bit more chill, it's a little bit more like passionate and emotional and like, you know, we're just here to have fun kind of vibe. And I wasn't adapting. I wasn't adapting and
You were serious. You were
I was
kind of
very
serious.
serious. I was
Okay.
very serious and I was very young and I was working with people who had been working there for a long time and it just wasn't gelling. So after I was let go, I was just like, you know what, screw this. I actually left the culinary industry and I went into sales and construction management so I could experiment with vegan food. I just started thinking about food differently. My partner and I at the time, we were already about 50% plant-based.
Okay.
And just from being in Colorado and being around that kind of vibe. And I started to just shift into a fully vegan diet and playing with it at home and experimenting. And then I moved to California and started doing some restaurant consulting for non-vegan restaurants and installing vegan menus in their restaurants. And it just became like this thing that made me feel good about myself, especially after being like really emotional and feeling frustrated with the industry after being let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Are you
it just felt
evangelistic about it? Are you a
a little bit.
preacher?
It was
Yeah.
almost like
Yeah.
a religious thing. Like veganism became a source of comfort for me and a source of purpose.
No, no, no. I love that. I remember, having cooked for a lot of years, for me, there were two things. One, sort of learning new techniques, learning again, right? How to make vegetables taste really, really good, right? But then I couldn't believe how good I felt. And I was trying to like, there's no way I'm just, it made me feel really good energy wise. I felt like I was alert. Um, Same for you?
Totally the same for me. I started to become aware of my own commentary on everything and how
Oh,
negative I
yes.
was on a day-to-day basis. Not necessarily negative, but just hyper discerning. And then I got to I had the opportunity to soften that discernment and start to take a look at how I was making decisions. And it provided me with like more space in between thoughts and actions to make different decisions. And
Th-
that changed my life forever.
That is so well said. The other thing, Chef, that I thought was fascinating was this whole new network of incredibly cool people that I started meeting. Chad Sarno and his brother Derek with Wicked Healthy.
They are
I
so
mean,
cool.
I want to be that cool, right? And so I'm going to associate myself with, and all they ever say, Chad's been on the show, all they ever say is we just want to make, we're not going to prescribe. We're going to encourage you to eat more vegetables more often. And we're going to make sure we help you make them taste really, really good. It's so simple. Now
It's
they're emotional about animals and such as well. But from a chef's perspective, it's just really about cooking really kick-ass food, right? And I love that. I love that. Maybe I lost some of that along the way, right? And then starting to cook vegetables kind of enlightened me again. So imagine how I felt when I saw, Gordon Ramsay bringing on a vegan chef. We'll get to that in just 1 second. So I just want to make sure I get it all right because, and I don't know how the seasons go, but Hell's Kitchen's been around for a long time, like 20 seasons or so or more.
Mhm.
And I could remember initially it was rough to watch sometimes because
Oh,
we're in this we're we're in this educational environment, right, where we're trying to nurture and promote the industry, and then you turn the TV on, but you couldn't look away because it was so fascinating to watch how people handled themselves when he put the pressure in. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, there's a method to the madness. There's a method to the madness. Same with this chef back here, right? Marco Pierre White. I can't imagine he was much different when Gordon was in his kitchen, right?
So intimidating. I've heard some stories.
Yeah. We'll talk about those stories later, unless you can share them. But
Yeah.
so there's so much more to this, though. Josie, is you're on Hell's Kitchen. The show's been around for a long time, and I don't fully understand this, but this was the Young Guns. This was an intentional effort to bring in younger culinarians and give them a shot at the stoves, right? I mean,
Mhm.
very, very intentional. And
Very.
so how there's a rumor, right, that you were inspired by a tweet or you connected with Gordon somehow. How did you find your way, girl from Michigan who's finding herself and her voice and her confidence, and then boom, you're on a pretty big stage, Hell's Kitchen.
You
It's not a
know,
local cooking competition, right?
no, it's not. It's insane. To be honest, I can't say, some people say that it's luck, and I'm sure that there is some truth to that, but I really feel like, you have to build luck too. And I think the way that I built it was just from leaving the culinary industry and going to go work in a sales environment because I was determined to own my own restaurant and do things my way. I also had to listen to the piece of me that was really upset that I wasn't in the kitchen anymore. And when it came time for me to leave my job, I just like where it was an overwhelming feeling that I needed to be back in the culinary industry. I left my job, and then all of a sudden things started opening up left and right. And I started managing a vegan food truck. I started managing a vegan wholesale bakery in Los Angeles. And Hell's Kitchen called me through Facebook Messenger. The casting director did. And it's all thanks to my friend's boyfriend that I cooked for one time at a party. Like whenever I go to a party, I cook. I just like avoid people and I just go to the kitchen, and that's how I connect with people, is I just bring them food. And I made a vegan picante, like a chicken picante, and they loved it. And apparently this guy was Facebook friends with the casting director, who was posting like, hey, I'm looking for young vegan chefs, or I'm sorry, I'm looking for young chefs. Does anybody know or have any connections? And he commented just my name and he tagged me. And he said, this girl cooked for us one time. She's really fiery. I think she'd be good on TV.
Isn't that something?
It was so nuts.
It's connections, right? And social media and technology have really helped with that. I want to go back just so you found a passion because of your discerning approach. You left, you were hurt. Did the plant-based cooking or approach heal you?
Oh, totally. Totally. It made me feel like I was like it was restoring the light. So it gave me like an infrastructure to know that anything that I'm doing is good, just because this action over here is good, because what I'm consuming is good. It's good for the planet, it's good for me. And now I feel clearer on why I'm doing what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And now I don't have to like punish myself for my actions, even if I come off bossy or arrogant or, whatever people want to perceive me as. I knew why I was doing things, because I was just more healthy, more vibrant, more energetic. And yeah, totally.
I love that feedback, and it's so good for students who listen, right? Because you have setbacks in life, and oftentimes it's up to you to figure it out, right? How to get past it. Now you can secretly call for the therapist, but ultimately you've got to overcome, right? Right.
Yeah,
I,
you have
I feel like this is kind of a therapy session for me anyway. It's been very insightful. So we may as well go with that theme of going deep. What did you find? I mean, I could ask you the easy cliche questions like, how was it to be on Hell's Kitchen? I want to know
go for it.
what did you find about yourself all these people, you can't leave, right? It's four walls because they've got secrets that they don't want to share until it airs. What did you find out about yourself during that process?
I found out, so Hell's Kitchen was really like my first time back in what I consider to be a real kitchen since I was 18 and I was 22 at the time, so almost 4 years out of the kitchen. And I found out that I'm meant to be in those kind of structures, that it's not wrong to be assertive, it's not aggressive, it's just passion, and it's not something that you have to hide. You know, I thought it was because I was let go from my job, but no, it just means that that kitchen wasn't for me. It's not that there's something wrong with me, it's just that I was choosing the wrong place to be. And having a battlefield like Hell's Kitchen showed me like this is where I can exercise my power. And if you watch Hell's Kitchen, I was very afraid to exercise that power. I was like, okay, let's be benevolent, let's be compassionate. Like, oh, they're being like too. I started to judge the passion that was happening in the kitchen because I had disconnected myself from that a little bit to go in a more benevolent, like tangible way, like, you know, in my career. And I just realized afterwards, much later afterwards, like a year afterwards, that it's okay to be like that. It's okay to be fiery. It's okay to put yourself through the ringer because it's for something that you believe in.
Yeah. Yeah. So you stepped away for a bit. Was it like riding a bike?
It was like riding a bike. It felt natural and it
Like
felt,
like you belonged, right? Yeah.
yeah, I need to
Yeah.
be there.
So we're in the heat of the competition, right? So maybe there's some stress, the clock is ticking. At the end of the day, I these could be too many secrets that you can't share. But is that presence of Chef Gordon Ramsay always looming? Is that a whole nother layer of he's right there or he's right here? Or is it kind of staged?
No, his presence, this man, this man is like, his level of culinary mastery comes from him exercising like his presence and his energy and his like standards just in every breath. And so you can feel when he's coming around the corner, you can be so wired into your work, but like if he's coming. You
The
just
chef
know.
is in the
I don't know
kitchen.
how
Yeah.
you couldn't know.
No, I love that. I hoped that you would say that. I hoped that you would say that because whether you last the entire season and you win or you're there for a few weeks, you want to be able to take some learning with you, right? Maybe change you as a cook, as a person, how you perceive things. Plus, they may ask you to come back, right?
Totally. Yeah, oh my gosh. I hope maybe that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I send him messages all the time just to let him know like how his energy has impacted me and how I can just think back to Hell's Kitchen and recall what a master feels like
Mhm.
and what that looks like and what a real leader looks like. And I can just like embody that because of him. That's how potent his energy is.
That's beyond motivation. That's inspiration, which is hard to do. That's good. That's good. What about this whole idea of competition is hard enough as it is, right? Whether it's down the street in a gymnasium or in front of millions of viewers. Um, did you feel again? I'll come back to that concept of being an evangelist. Did you feel like you had a greater sort of cause because you were the first vegan competitor on this show and you needed to make, or did you need to make a statement? Seems like the timing was perfect because plant-based cooking is definitely not a trend, right? It is scaling beyond belief, right? Now you can go to the grocery store and find plant-based products in their own section, right? You don't have to dig through other sections to find it. So it's real. Did you feel like you needed to make a statement?
I did. And I'm not sure if I made as bold of a statement as I could have, but adhering to not tasting anything, not tasting any animal products while I was on the show, I knew that that needed to be, not only because I felt like that needed to be shown, but just I couldn't stomach it. I could barely, when Hell's Kitchen first called and they asked me if I was okay with cooking meat to be on the show, I said no, and I hung up. And then 2 weeks later, I called them and I was like, you know what, let's do it. Just because I felt like it was an opportunity for the masses to see it, but I didn't want to cook meat. It was super difficult for me to try it when you're trying to connect. You're finally in an environment that you can exercise your fire in, you can exercise your passion in, and then you go to try to connect to the food to produce like at a very high level. And you're looking at your pan and you're just like searing flesh and you're just like, okay, we're totally here for it. We're going to be totally in tune with it, even though it's actually hurting me.
And it's not just in that space too. I had a conversation with a colleague earlier this morning. We got on this crazy tangent of wedding cakes today. So the wedding cakes of today and the wedding cakes that my master pastry chef father made 40 years ago are wildly different, right? Traditional wedding cake, 3 tiers, 4 tiers, whatever, with these crazy figurines of 2 people sitting on the top, right? Today, fresh flowers, fondant, beautiful, beautiful artistry. It's completely different, right? Doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just different. So, I mean,
even the naked cakes too.
Exactly. I've seen cakes with Rock'em Sock'em robots on top. That's probably more accurate, right? For a wedding.
Yeah, people really expressing themselves.
So tell me about, so you've got sort of this mission in your mind, this conviction, I should say, in your mind. How respectful was Chef Ramsay of how passionate you were about plant-based cooking?
He was actually incredibly respectful. I felt like throughout the show, because I was so, I don't know, I guess kind of rusty. Like I was rusty in the sense of creating with meat just because I hadn't cooked meat in so long, but I had like the skill set and the passion. I felt like because I was plant-based, he kind of gave me extra help.
Okay.
That's personally how I felt.
But you had a presence too in the kitchen. You had a presence. I mean, so whether or not you were rusty, your words, probably not the viewers' words, but you had a presence in the kitchen, and that's half the battle, right? Roland Hennon, French chef, master chef, known him for years. He told me once, as I was, burning a bunch of seafood sausage over in the corner, and he pulled me aside and he said, you're always on stage when you're in the kitchen. So one, you've got to look good, and you have to present well. Rachel Ray used to do this, and it sound as crazy as that sounds. Do you remember Rachel Ray used to take a bowl over to the refrigerator and put everything she needed? All of her mise en place went into that bowl. Then she went to her workstation and began working, rather than Bobby flaying it, right? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's what, Roland Hennon said to me once, you just always know that the eyes are on you. So you've got to be graceful as you move through the kitchen. So I give you credit. That's 50% of the battle, right? Just having a presence. The rest of it you can figure out, right? Did it come back quickly, the cooking skills?
It did. After week 2 of filming, I was like,
I got this.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I love that. It's amazing as I research, your background and your history. So, I mean, Gordon Ramsay, that's like enough for many careers, right? Okay. Worked with Gordon Ramsay. So then, we're in the plant-based space here, and you've done some work with Matthew Kinney um, who arguably he's on the podium of plant-based cooking, right? Presence in this country for many, many years,
He's
many
the
years.
godfather.
Right? Beautiful, beautiful food. I remember when he was like 12 running his first restaurant in Maine, right? I mean, he's been around for a long time. Um, so talk to me about how you met him, how you launched this incredible concept called Folia in Saudi Arabia, and and what that meant to you. A lot
Yeah.
of our audience may not know Matthew Kenny, so maybe a little background on your connection with him.
Okay, yeah. Matthew Kenny, so you probably know more of the history of Matthew Kenny. I only know his history before Plant Food and Wine because of some Google searches and looking at all the restaurants that he had in New York and like his history before he was even vegan, or at least before he was fully vegan in the kitchen and as a head chef. Matthew Kenny, as it turns out, we didn't meet until the day after opening day.
Oh,
But
wow.
as it
Okay.
turns out, we were we were neighbors. We lived a half mile away from each other in Venice Beach. We live in Mar Vista. Well, I used to. My apartment's not there anymore. But we lived a half mile away from each other, and I used to go to his restaurants all the time, not really knowing it was him either. Double Zero, which is a vegan pizza place on Venice Boulevard, and Plant Food and Wine, which is on Abercrombie Boulevard in Venice Beach proper. I had incredible experiences at both of those places, and I didn't even realize it was Matthew Kenny Cuisine. I was just kind of unplugged. I had my own catering company. I was just like, I was
Doing your thing. Yeah.
I was a little bit out of touch. So fast forward from living in Los Angeles to like a year later, I went to England right after Hell's Kitchen aired. I got picked up by a vegan publicist, if you will, and he launched my name over in England. And so I did some pop-up dinners serving like 5 and 10 course menus of my signature dishes and like different, I guess, like selections that had a lot of meaning to me. And I met Louis Blake, who was one of Matthew Kenny's colleagues. Now, Louis Blake is an angel investor who strictly opens only plant-based restaurants.
Okay.
Louis Blake and Matthew Kenny somehow, in some way, are business partners. I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know. I'm just blessed that I met the man. He's such a cool guy. And I met up with him and his girlfriend for lunch one day. And I was just talking about like my plans, and I was learning about him and what he does. Learns that he is just like one of the most humble, conscious people I'd ever met in my entire life. And it was such a great meeting. And the next morning he messaged me on Instagram at like 9 a.m. He's like, hey, Matthew Kenny needs someone to go open his restaurant in Saudi Arabia. Do you want to go? And I was like, what?
Is that crazy? My goodness. Wow.
Just crazy, crazy stuff.
So was that kind of a pop-up kind of concept as well?
The Matthew Kenny restaurant?
Yeah. In Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so it was for Riyadh season. Riyadh season is a 6-month celebration where they attract a lot of tourists by bringing huge artists, huge names just in the entertainment and hospitality industry, period, to Riyadh to attract all of KSA, Europeans, Americans. They just want more people to come and to see Saudi Arabia as a tourist area. And
oh, that's
totally
phenomenal.
Yeah, so cool. And they brought in Matthew Kenny, and it was a 2-month. This culinary zone. There's 12 zones for the entire festival, and one zone is just for upscale restaurants.
Okay.
And
Okay.
That section is only open for 2 months, and that's where Matthew Kenny Folia was opened.
Was there more plant-based cooking over there than you anticipated, or is it specifically what Matthew was doing?
It's specifically what Matthew was doing for the festival. That was the only plant-based restaurant. It was the first ever fine dining, vegan restaurant. There are a couple cafes that serve breakfast and lunch that are fully vegan, or plant-based in Riyadh, but that was like the first real restaurant. So it was
That's
pretty cool.
well, in keeping with our theme today, what was that experience like for you? And what did you take away?
That experience was, I'd say, the equivalent of being on Hell's Kitchen in terms of intensity,
Wow. Okay.
just because there's not a lot of infrastructure or supply chain in Saudi Arabia. So it really was a period for me to not trust anyone else that was involved in the project and to just like really run things and make sure that like everything was perfect and take full control and just watch it all come together. And it was so emotionally strenuous because you just never really knew until 2 days before opening if it was going to come together in time, because you've got all your ingredients being shipped from all over the world. You don't know when things are coming in. You have all of these like lists of things that need to be prepared, and you can't prepare half of them because you don't have vegan butter and you just don't know when it's coming in. So it's a lot of just emotional management. There's like 10% work, 90% managing emotions and following up.
So how did your true DNA of being somewhat discerning, serious, help you there?
Oh, it was
Needed
all I
it,
had.
right?
It was all I
No
had.
more whimsical approach. We're gonna get serious. Yeah.
Yeah, it got a deeper level of acceptance than I ever thought that I could have for those sides of my personality.
Unbelievable. And so let's just keep rolling with that. So another opportunity I understand that came out of your trip or your experience in Saudi Arabia was Jackfruit, where you kind of reside today, right? It did I read this correctly that they reached out to you, offered you a position? Um, um, Evidently, your mission is very similar to provide consumers, guests, with an amazing meat substitute product from jackfruit, right? Did I get
Yes.
that right?
Yeah, you did. Look at you.
How
Wow, you
does
really did. You
this?
really did your research.
I did the research. Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. I mean, I truly believe that people make their futures too, right? They're talking to the right people. They're in the right position. They're open to different experiences. So right place, right time. So tell me about, this is your opportunity for a great plug. You'll get all kinds of kudos and high fives, but tell us
Uh,
about this company and what you do and why it's so important.
Thanks for the opportunity to plug. Yes, Jackfruit Land is
Recorded.
Jackfruit Land is actually the coolest meat alternative product that I've ever experienced. So they sent me their product when I was in Saudi Arabia. They paid to have it shipped from Florida to Saudi Arabia just so I could try it. They randomly reached out, and I didn't have time to take it from my hotel room to the kitchen because I just didn't want one more thing on my plate. So I actually took the dried jackfruit and I just put it in my mouth and I let it kind of rehydrate in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, I realized that processed, processed, when I say processed, it's just dehydrated. It's picked, it's broken down, it's dehydrated, it's put in a bag. But this was the first time that I had processed jackfruit that actually tasted like something, where you could taste the bitterness from the oils, you could taste something that actually resembled meat. Because I think as chefs, we're most used to jackfruit that's been stored in a brine, in a can.
Yeah.
And so this totally changed my entire perspective. It just like blew my mind on what jackfruit could be. I had no idea because I had worked with jackfruit before, but it wasn't like this. So as soon as I tried their product, it's like, wow, they really have something. I don't know if they know what they have. Maybe they do know, but like, I really want to create something magical with this, because they were telling me about how it was made and how it's processed and how it's handled. I was like, wow, this is just so sustainable. if we could just dish this out everywhere. Not only is it sustainable, but it's healthy, it's nutrient dense, it has the most nutrients because of the way that it's processed. It was like angels were singing. I was like, this is the answer.
I was just going to ask, but I think you kind of asked it. If you had to pick one or two or three or four things that you want people to know about your role with Jackfruit Land, about this product, what would that be? In addition to what you just shared, what's the emotional piece?
Well, the emotional piece, I think, is just that I think this connects all types of eaters. It connects the carnivores, it connects the vegans, it connects the vegans that are in it for the health, vegans that are in it for the environment, vegans that are in it just for whatever reason. It connects all of the eaters. There's no compromising.
And that wasn't staged. What a beautiful answer. Tough question. Beautiful answer.
Kurt, you're so sweet. You're gassing me up.
I just loved it. I loved it. And I don't try to stump people. I mean, I really, truly believe that you come from a place where you want to make an impact. And so I love that. So keeping with that theme, I'm going to keep you smiling here. I want to go all the way back to, the experience that you had that pushed you away from the industry. And keep in mind, I'm always thinking about young, new culinarians coming into this industry. What inspires them? What motivates them? What pushes, what pulls, right? So now you've had these experiences all around the world. Coming back to that initial experience, how do you find peace in the industry for you, for Josie?
Oh man, what a great question. To me, it's staying focused on the vision. Every day, my entire schedule revolves around how clear I can get on the mission as quickly as possible from the time that I wake up until I have to do work. And as long as I can feel the vision and I can feel into that place of discernment rather than from whatever my emotions are telling me that day, from whatever I think I have to do, I know that that's all BS. And all I need to do is be clear on this vision, and anything that comes out of me or anything that I decide to do or feel that is right while focused on this place, I give myself full permission, and I don't second guess it. That's it.
I love it. I mean, missions are incredibly important. My 11-year-old son will go into backdoor restaurants with me, and when he sees the chef or I introduce him to the chef, he'll always ask, "Hey chef, what's your mission?" which is absolutely crazy. But and he's sincere about it, right? He wants to hear, what is your mission? I've heard people talk about living the mission. I've heard people talk about being clear about the mission, but you just said feel the mission. And I've never heard that before. So that's profound. What does that mean? How do you feel the mission every day? Because I'm totally going to steal it, by the way.
Please do. I think feeling it is the most potent way, because I've tried the other ways, living it or acting from it. The feeling it means that you're ignoring all logic at that point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Feeling it means that you're placing yourself in the future with that vision, and you're feeling into what that vision is requiring of you in terms of how you need to be, how you need to act, how you need to walk, how you need to look. It's what should be said, what shouldn't be said. It's you get everything that you need from feeling it. And if you feel like you have to call a person that you haven't talked to in 3 years to see what's up and just share about what you're doing and genuinely see what they're up to, that could be a conversation that leads you to the next clue, the next connection that's going to lead you to the next connection, that's going to lead you to the next connection, that gets you to a place that you never could have planned to be in. You never could have imagined it, even if you, I don't know, did all of the hallucinogens in the world. Like you never could have imagined it.
When I listen to you speak, I feel like I'm reading a book, right? So you're writing your book, chapter after chapter after chapter, and many chapters to come, right? Is there anything, would you rewrite any chapters at this point?
No.
So good.
No,
Another,
I wish I had a better answer, but just
no,
no.
another good. There could always be a second book, but you don't have to rewrite the chapter. I try to get that across to my students all the time. It's okay if you went down the wrong path, and as long as you came back, or you made a mistake, as long as you learned from that mistake, it's okay. It's okay. Don't rewrite the chapter because it's who you are. No, very, very, very well said. I'm going to put you on the spot again. What in your mind, not only what, it's a tough cliche question to say, what's the future of plant-based cooking? What do you want the future of plant-based cooking? What does Chef Josie want?
What do I want? Wow.
How about that, right?
Yeah. What I want is for hydroponics to just be
Oh, nice.
standard.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
can't grow it, you don't serve it. I want
No pressure.
everyone to be supporting the hospitality industry by growing something in their home. I want the new supply chain to be a route that has veggie pickups from different households. Maybe one person grows their entire backyard is tomatoes. Maybe one person grows all zucchini. Maybe an entire neighborhood, like the HOAs. Your HOA is now like a designated, you have to grow this crop. You have to grow these two crops in your home. That needs to be the new way, because all of this, all these food miles and all of these unsustainable ways of living, I mean, we've got massive soil issues. Boulder is probably the most idealistic city in the US that is conquered. They're like you guys are like the only ones actually conquering the issue. So we need to not only duplicate everything that Boulder's doing everywhere, but we need to start to really, with urgency, create new ways to acquire our produce.
I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna send this recording to the Boulder Chamber of Commerce because they need to hear that directly from you. But I agree. We do a lot of things right in this part of the country. It's a lofty goal, but you have to start somewhere, right?
100%.
I don't know where our time went so fast today, Chef, but it really blew by. I think we're gonna probably have to do a part two. But before I let you go, I have to ask, the name of the podcast is The Ultimate Dish. So in your mind, what is the ultimate dish? You better be plant-based.
Of course. Of course, Kirk. The ultimate dish is a vegan Chicago style deep dish. That is what I make for my family.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Mr. Chicago man.
Oh my gosh, my kids would love that.
But I have to tell you what I do to it that makes it so special.
Okay.
So are you familiar with nasu dengaku, which is basically like a Japanese glazed eggplant?
Yeah.
I make that and I layer that in. So it's cheese, vegan cheese, and then the slices of glazed eggplant, and then the tomato sauce. And the tomato sauce has to have a pretty significant amount of red wine reduced into it with a lot of fresh herbs. And to me, that is the ultimate dish. I don't care if you're vegan, or if you're not vegan, or you're a healthy vegan, or whatever.
I was just going to say, this does not have to be stereotyped as plant-based or vegan. That sounds absolutely,
it brings everyone together.
Perfect. Yes. And it's a dish in front of everyone that you share, right? You're all reaching for it. Yeah.
Piece
I love
of the
it.
pie.
Perfect piece of the pie. What a beautiful conversation. You're a special person. I'm so glad that you joined us today. Will you keep us informed on your continued success?
Absolutely. Will you keep me in the loop on what's going on at Escoffier? I want to help in any way possible with your
Oh,
students.
absolutely. Maybe we'll do, I think, a webinar, just a little very organic and raw, no template, no script, just 750 students on a call, just saying, hey,
Let's do it.
let's do it. I love it. Perfect.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And thank you for listening to the Ultimate Dish Podcast, brought to you by Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. Visit escoffier.edu/podcast, where you'll find any materials mentioned during the podcast, including notes, links, and other resources. You can also browse other episodes and subscribe.